rest my weary feet, or even take a seat. So I'm sitting at Dankwa Circle till the break of dawn. Sale, sale, no place to rest my weary feet, or even take a seat. Oh no. So I'm sitting at Dankwa Circle, 'cause the heat is on. Sitting at Dankwa Circle in the setting sun, having fun. Sitting.
It's a blessing, yeah. Life is a blessing, it's a blessing, and I know it. Yes, wow, now share my thoughts, yes, to the world, yeah.
Yes, indeed, people.
Share my thoughts, yes.
Greetings.
To the world.
Another Wednesday. www.saharafmradio.com. Coming straight out of New York City.
Yes, to the world.
Yes,
What life has taught me, my
this is the platform where we share our thoughts, no pretensions. We, the people of the world, we are not the politicians, we are not the technocrats, we are not the experts. We are the people who matter. And what we do is to share our thoughts. And if the politicians that we put in power really care about us, these are some of the things that they should be listening to make decisions that affect us. So on the program today, please join me. Let's share our thoughts on the subject 9/11. Today is the 12th anniversary of that dastardly act where over 2,000 people were killed. So we'll be talking about that, and we'll also be linking that to the issue of a possible US strike on Syria. Now, I know that the die-hard followers of this program would be like, what has that got to do with Africa? That has got everything to do with Africa. You know why? Well, you will see why as we go along. But what it is this. What did the 9/11 mean to Africa and Africans? And what will a possible strike on Syria mean to Africa and Africans? As usual, I have some of my seasoned parliamentarians on the line to join me to do justice to the subject. We have Kwesi, we have Smart, you remember Smart, Rosa is no stranger to this program, and Kofi Dishan, no stranger either. And they will help me, and we'll all get together to do justice to this subject. Before we do, however, I'd like us all to pause for a minute in reverence for, or in observance to the memory of those who perished 12 years ago today, not too far away from where I sit right now. 1 minute silence. May the souls of the departed be received into the bosom of Abraham. Yes, you're welcome to Parliament, Smart, Kofi, Kwesi,
Yeah,
and
what
Rosa.
did you say? What?
Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes. Who do we have in Parliament today? Do we have Smart? You're welcome to the program, Smart. Yes, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Please turn down.
Yes,
Please.
I am online, sir.
Yeah, if you're tuned in, could you please
Sorry?
turn down?
Thank you.
1 second, people. Could you please turn down the volume on your sets, because it's giving us a feedback, and preferably if you have headphones, that would do the trick. If you just connect headphones, that would be perfect. Otherwise, please turn it down a tweaky bit so we can just. Okay, and again, just because we're not in the same space, it would be good
No, is anybody there?
if you can speak when you're addressed, so that we have a smooth discussion. All right.
Oh, yeah, I'm here. Kofi's here. I just can't hear Quakey. I can't hear Quakey, but I can hear everybody else.
Oh, okay, because I'm not sure what to do. I'm not actually sure whether I should stay on the line
Kofi
or...
says he cannot hear
I'm
me.
gonna have to
Give
go.
us.
I can't hear Quakey, but I can hear everybody else.
We're gonna take a quick minute. We're gonna take a quick minute and come right back. There seemed to be some kind of a hiccup. We will be right back.
Clement come to share him thoughts. Yes, to the world. Yeah, oh, share my thoughts. Yes, to the world. Life is global, universal. It don't partial, yet still it loyal. Wrong here no normal. System crucial, Babylon is brutal. Condition of the poor is critical. Life create all of this, no doubt about it. Know anything it throw at you, you got to work with it. Can't reverse it, or go round it. The only way out is to face it. Share my thoughts, yes, to the world. Yeah, oh, share my thoughts. Yes, to the world. Clement come to share him thoughts. Yes, to the world. Yeah, oh, share my thoughts. Yes, to the world. Boom, boom,
And the highest love me I talk about, you know. Blessed love is higher love. Ooh yeah, the perfect love. Aye, blessed love, higher blessed love. We all feel it every day. Hey, blessed love, higher blessed love. Why humanity have fuss and hate? Through my outs and through my ins, I give thanks from within for the lives we all are living. Even when it's sticky, still we need our medicine. Hey, so we got 2 roads before we shall know we must sit through this wisely. Because it's good over evil, no matter how little. Shall love will triumphantly. So, blessed love, higher blessed love. We all feel it every day. Hey, blessed love, higher blessed love. Why humanity are cause and rage, yeah. Blessed love, his higher love.
Yes, indeed. Sounds of Judah Brownie. Blessed love.
Perfect love.
That's what we need in this world. Love. Love conquers all. Yes, welcome to Parliament, people. Hello, Smart.
Yes, hello.
Yes, you're welcome.
Oh, welcome.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you perfectly. Thank you. Kwesi, are you there? Hello, Kwesi.
Yep.
Oh, you're welcome to the program. Hello.
Hello.
Kwesi, you're welcome to the program. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Rosa, you're welcome to the program. Rosa?
Oh, yeah, I can barely hear you, Kwesi.
Oh, sorry about that. We need to manage this, though. But I can hear you very well, though. You're welcome to the program anyhow. Hello? I don't know what's going on. Kofi, you're welcome to the program.
Hey, Quincy, thanks, man. Thanks.
Okay. All right, great. We'll go straight away. We'll go straight away into it. 12 years ago, something very strange, something very, I don't want to give it too many adjectives, but something happened. So-called terrorists grabbed or seized planes and crashed it into the World Trade Center. That has changed the course of human history forever. That has changed the way we travel, for instance. Let me start with you, Kofi. What's your own assessment of what happened 12 years ago? Kofi?
Quincy, wait.
Hello?
Quincy, were you talking to me?
I was. Yes, I was. Did you hear the question?
Oh, yeah, you said, can I give a rundown of what happened 12
Yes,
years
please.
ago?
Yes, could you?
Oh, basically, two commercial airliners, ran into the two twin towers in Midtown Manhattan, New York City. Yeah, it was found out that terrorists were responsible for the act. So beyond that, we got news after the fact that Osama bin Laden had a plan and effort and something to do with it. And, it's rather an unfortunate piece of history for all humanity.
Yeah.
Little do people know that people from all nations actually were working in the tower, and if they break it down, almost every country had a citizen of some sort, by proxy or directly that died of the over 3,000 people that died at both towers. So it's rather unfortunate that had to happen.
Yes, thank you very much. Kwesi, what's your own assessment? We've heard a lot of conspiracy theories going around, that it was actually not even terrorists who actually did that and all of that. What's your own assessment?
First and foremost, let me say thank you for having the program. And to answer your question, we need to be careful not to be drawn into conspiracy theory.
That's right.
In the first place, there is uncontrovertible evidence that indeed terrorists were responsible for these attacks. That is a fact. The reaction to the attacks that can be whether it was legitimate or not. That can be debated. But as to who perpetrated these acts of terror, shouldn't be subjected to any conspiracy notions and such. We should encourage that.
Okay, well said. Well said. Rosa, are you there, Rosa?
Yeah, you just have to, speak a little louder though, because you're kind of like in a distance. But yeah, I can barely hear you. I can hear the other guys.
Oh, I don't know how that's happening. Anyway, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I'm trying to,
Yeah. If you would put, I don't know, the telephone near you, maybe I could hear you better.
Okay,
but,
I've got my mouth as close as possible to the microphone, and I'm trying to speak up.
Otherwise, one of the other guys might be able to, relay it to me.
Okay. Well, I was actually asking your impressions about what happened 12 years ago. What's your own assessment of what happened 12 years ago? I'm referring to the 9/11 incident.
So you're asking me what my impression is?
Yes.
On what happened 12 years ago?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I just remember, waking up and hearing the news. It was about 5:30. I was up, because of the time difference here. So I heard the news, and at first I thought, oh wow, Al Qaeda, they're serious now. This is like war. I would never have actually thought that it was an inside job at that time. I remember seeing George Bush's facial expressions and thinking, oh my goodness, why isn't he jumping? Like, what's he sitting down there for? I don't know. Shocking, mate. Shocking. Like I was sick.
I really hope you can hear me, because what I'm going to ask, my reaction to what you just said is very vital, and I would want you to respond to that as well. George Bush was sitting in a classroom full of kids, and people have argued that he didn't want to alarm them. I mean, as a first gentleman, with all these people watching.
I can't hear a word you're saying. I can't hear anything.
All right, don't worry about it. I'll go to Smart now. Smart.
Yeah, it's just too muffled. Sorry, Kwesi.
Okay, we'll try our best as we go along. But Smart, first of all, can you give me your own impressions of what happened 12 years ago? Hello, Smart. Are you there, Smart?
Yes, Smart, I'm here.
Yes. Yeah, I was just asking if you could give me, your impressions of what happened 12 years ago.
Are you there, Smart? Yes, sir, I'm here. I'm hearing you.
I think someone still has their volume turned up, because I'm still getting feedback. Please connect to earphones if you can. If not, please turn it down so we avoid the feedback and we have a smooth discussion. But yes, to you now, Smart, if you could quickly give us your impressions about what happened 12 years ago. Yes, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, Smart.
Yes, I guess you were asking about my opinion.
Yes.
What I do remember about 9/11, is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Oh, sure. It stands still vivid in memory. Actually, let me first thank everybody on the show, my colleagues, and then of course everyone who's listening. It was a day you can't forget. I was actually at work, and a couple of friends told us there's something happening, so we went up the roof of the building, and of course we saw the buildings smoking out. And we later found out it was a terrorist act, and we were asked to leave. I came home driving alone. The streets were very quiet in New Jersey. And my younger brother actually worked as a computer technician in New York at that time, so he seldom went to the building. And so we were not hearing from him. There were no phone calls. Almost all the lines were messed up. And so it was one of the days that all of us felt like we have all lost someone in a way, and I can't remember anyone who didn't feel bad about it. My other point I might add to this was, there's been a lot of conspiracy theories around this 9/11 incident, but I just think they don't hold water. I have tested them out, read a lot of articles, read a lot of books, but I think it's just a pure orchestrated terrorist act, and we may have made some mistakes as a country in terms of the way we approach security back then. And I think we probably would do better now, of course, with a lot of new systems in place. But in a whole, I guess it's a day that we won't forget. It's a day that will help us remember all those who passed away and their families. And it also brought United States and many of our friends and people around the world that we have to begin to look at the way we see, we treat, not treat, but we have to begin to look at what causes this terrorism. Why are people willing to kill themselves so that others would die? And I think that debate still continues today.
It still continues, and that leads us into the next part of our discussion for today, Syria and all the brouhaha around Syria. Some have suggested that issues like Syria is what, creates the demons that come up to haunt the United States in the form of, terrorists and all of that. President Obama, early this morning, kind of gave us all some room to breathe when he said he was going to resort to diplomacy instead of what had been happening throughout the week, where we all thought that America was definitely going to strike on Syria. Do you think America should strike on Syria? Let me start with you, Kwesi. Do you think America is justified in striking Syria if it decides to do so? Kwesi?
Is it a full?
I was trying to. Hello, Kwesi?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes. Did you hear the question?
What did you say? Did you say we're asking if America was justified in?
Yes, that's exactly so.
Oh, okay. I mean, it's I'll say it's not as simple as just saying America is justified in doing something or not. It's about international law, and a lot of people have bought into the idea of American exceptionalism to the point where it's gained orthodoxy, where it's even unheard of to hear of any contrarian view offering the notion that we should actually adhere to international law. And under international law, you can't just attack another country, irrespective of what that country has done. If a country is engaged in a civil war and you believe that the country has violated international principles or has violated your sensibility, and you want to attack the country, there is a mechanism for that. And the mechanism that has been in existence for the past 60 years or so has been the United Nations Security Council. And in order for the United States to do that, I mean, it's not a matter of it being right and doing it. It's about it being legal. And the legal approach is for the United States to go before the Security Council, lay down its case before the Council, and put up to a vote. You can't just wake up and just bomb another country on your whim just because you believe the country has violated the law. I mean, that is not justice. That's the law of the jungle.
Okay. All right. Smart. Kwesi has just stated like a supposed procedure for bombing another country. Should it be any country's responsibility to bomb another country because that country is going wayward, or should it perhaps be the prerogative of the United Nations? What do you think? Smart.
This is very complex. I am one person who is very law-abiding, but I'm also very skeptical about laws. And if I will go back, if all of us will go back to many years in this very country, before women could vote and before black people could vote, there were laws put there by fellow citizens to prevent that from happening. So now let me turn around and put it this way. The structure of the United Nations is very, very, very funny. You got like some 4 big guys, strong nations with a lot of money who have veto power. It is not like the whole United Nations will take a vote and then majority rules. That's not the case. But this is where I have a situation here. You have Syria in civil war, and it's being led by a dictator who's gassing his people. I think Assad shouldn't go scot-free. Even if this is settled diplomatically, I don't think he should go scot-free. I will take a diplomatic settlement in which he goes out. He can stay in the country but get out of that politics. Well, not politics, but get out of government. Let them have elections. Let them vote to get someone into power. Now, let me quickly jump you to Iran.
Before you do that, Smart, I'm pretty sure Assad would have issues with that, because we've seen instances where proposals like that have been put forward, and then after the people step out of government, it turns back to haunt them. Charles Taylor is an example.
Mm-hmm. But could you repeat that? I didn't really get you.
Well, what I was saying is that I'm sure Assad will be quite skeptic about that kind of proposal, because we've seen instances where proposals like what you've just laid out are offered to leaders, and then after they leave power, then it comes back to haunt them. And I was giving Charles Taylor as an example.
I really cannot hear your question. I know I'm hearing Charles Taylor in there, but
the lines are not my best friend today. All the same, we'll try.
I'm hearing Charles Taylor in there, and I don't know what we're.
Well, just go ahead. Go ahead with your submission. You were saying something before I barged in. Just go ahead with your submission. Hello, Smart.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm not hearing at all.
I'm saying just go ahead with your submission. You were saying something before I interrupted, so just finish what you were saying.
You want me to continue with my comment?
Yes, please.
Basically, what I was trying to say is that with the example, the problem that Iran had a few years ago, Iran was a democratically elected. They had a democratically elected government, and so when they were having problems with the demonstrations and stuff like that, I felt, with time they'll be able to fix that. There was no need for any international intervention. But my only problem is when we are dealing with dictators, and whether they are friends of the United States or they are enemies of the United States. I just don't like dictators. That's the problem. Well, it's not a problem, but that's my stance.
Okay. All right. Kofi, if you're there, help us to understand this. You know about the U.S. military and all of that, so maybe you can actually help us to examine this next question better. Yeah. Yes. Do these strikes actually hurt the bad guys? Or because the whole motive of going to Syria is that people have been killed, innocent people, innocent Syrians have been killed. But in the case of a U.S. strike, is it really going to hurt the bad guys who are doing these things, or more good guys are going to be killed?
Okay, so let me just echo what you said, so that way I make sure I'm at least trying to answer your question. Sure. Basically, saying that in the instance of the United States intervening militarily, you're asking if they're doing it for purely humanitarian purposes, or if they have another motive.
Not really. No, that was not the question. The question was.
Okay, go ahead.
The question was this: the U.S. proposes to intervene militarily because some innocent people have been killed in Syria. And I'm asking, if the U.S. does go ahead and strike, do more good people, the same people that the U.S. is trying to protect, are these people going to get hurt, or are they really going to have a way of directing it at the bad guys?
Oh, good question. It's going to be another hit or miss scenario. There'll be more innocent people dead from these strikes than the intended target. Remember, the intended targets are the ones with the resources in the country. They're the ones who will be able to quickly sneak in and out, probably have their bunkers secured, and between me and you, there'll be more innocent people dead than there are the bad guys, if such a word exists. Because I look at the rebels as bad guys, because the rebels are the ones the U.S. are funding right now are the same people that were blamed for the 9/11 terrorist attacks. I mean, we talk about giving weapons to Al Qaeda members to help oust Assad in Syria. So and Smart also said something. You should be wary of rules. If they really want to do it the right way, and if this is not just an attempt to jump into a military industrial complex type mode where very rich people already 95% of the rich in this country are going to even get more richer just because there's a war, Because all of a sudden, I never heard anything from Rumsfeld. I never heard anything from Dick Cheney for years, and all of a sudden, they can smell blood, and they're out there all of a sudden interested. You look at a guy like Boehner, the House Majority Speaker. He's yet to agree with anything that the president outlined for the past almost 5 years. No to health care, no to funding government, no to paying government workers. But then the minute he heard war, he was ready to say yes. John McCain is saying yes. All these guys, all of a sudden, they agree with President Obama. And you ask yourself, is Obama on the Democratic, liberal? We're trying to get poor people jobs. We're trying to get students who got out of schools, Harvard, Ivy League schools, top schools with $200,000 in student loans, unpaid, stay home. They can't get a job. I know people from Ivy League schools who are working in retail or Walmart, and you can't solve all these things, but you want to go to war? You can't even guarantee health care. You want to reverse all the good you did. You can't solve immigration, and you want to go to war? So I really understand that the people of Syria may have been subjects of a chemical attack, but America has too many issues. So if they're really concerned for people, it's concerned for the poor here in America. If you want to go to war, run it through the United Nations, and just like Smart said, don't run it through the United Nations or the Security Council, because that's just countries that benefit from war. Let every country have one vote, and let them vote if they want to go into Syria. And let it not be only American soldiers. Let it be soldiers from Ghana. Let it be soldiers from Bahrain. Let it be soldiers from Qatar. Let it be soldiers from UAE. Let it be soldiers from Iran. Let it be people from Lebanon, countries that really have a stake and know the culture in question. So I really, really am 100% against any war, man. And they're only going to kill more innocent people.
So am I. So am I. War is not a good thing. And if that's why I was saying that, I really commend President Obama for giving that window of hope for diplomacy to take its course. But okay, let me come to you now, Kwesi. France, Britain, some traditional allies of the U.S. are a bit ginger. They're a bit skeptical about this whole thing. They are not really throwing in their weight the way they traditionally used to do. What would you say is the reason for that, Kwesi?
I didn't get you. You said people are reluctant.
Britain,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
And some of the other traditional allies of the United States.
Okay.
Are not as enthused about Syria as they were about other countries prior, that we know about. What do you think is accounting for that?
There are a few factors accounting for that. I mean, firstly, many of these countries aren't afflicted by amnesia. They clearly remember what happened a few years ago when people were lied to, when we all lied to by Colin Powell and the previous administration. And secondly, many of these countries understand the historical context in which this conflict arises from. And it is not as clear-cut as many of us make it out to be. This is a deeply rooted sectarian conflict. Syria has existed for thousands of years. This conflict that we see now, these grievances have been brewing for centuries. Between the Shia, the Sunni, the Alawites, the Druze, the Christians. It's a very complicated issue. The French understand it because the colonial masters of Syria, the English were prior to the French rival, the colonial masters of Syria. They get it. They understand how complicated this will be if they get involved. Because don't remember, Syria used to comprise of Lebanon, Greater Palestine, and part of Iraq. This isn't a country that we see today. It's an artificial created country that we see today. If Syria gets into the throes of blown-out conflict, I mean, obviously it is now, but if it expands into northern Turkey, into Lebanon, into parts of Jordan and Palestine, it's going to be a mess. And they get it. Unlike people here, insulated people who don't read, excuse my language, who just regurgitate what they hear on TV and in newspapers and then form the opinion, some other people get it.
I see. All right, smart. I know you are, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you are a very pro-Obama budding politician, if I can call you that.
All right, smart.
Smart.
Yes, I am online.
Okay, good. My question to you really is, when Obama was coming in, President Obama, when he was coming into office for the first time, one of the things that really endeared him to a lot of people was that he was anti-war. He was going to withdraw the troops from Iraq and all of that. What changed? Why is he so bent on striking? Why?
Well, then he was someone who was running for office. Now he's a president. He gets more information than he would have got back then. And there's a lot of intelligence that he has that you and I don't have. I personally believe that he was going to let peace prevail and he's going to try diplomatic efforts. Although I was one of the guys who supported some kind of punitive damage to Assad's military installations in Syria. And like I've always said, I just don't know whether it's something that I just don't have any heart for dictators, whether they're United States friends or they are United States enemies.
Smart.
I just don't like them.
I get your point, but there is no dictator country. There's a dictator individual. Why not deal with Assad instead of bombing Syria if your issue is really with dictators?
Look, I did a little bit of military science in school. And I'm not someone who likes war, just like all of you here on there. But trust me, I have a feeling that this is going to be like Iraq Part 2. Assad is going to tell them, all right, let's sign on this. I'm going to sign on this. United Nations is going to go in there. And then Monday he's going to say, you can't come to this place at this time because it's a Friday and we have worship. They come in next week, he's going to say, well, it was a wrong time. We were expecting you at this time. Why did he show up? And it's going to be on and on and on and on and on again. And then eventually, and this is just something that I think might happen, eventually it's going to be war. If the United Nations would do their part right, and Russia and China will get on board and get this guy out. He's a dictator. He's not someone who's been elected by any means whatsoever. I always like to bring Iran in there because in Iran, at least there is some kind of democratic voting
process.
system.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Unlike Syria, this guy, I think his father was running the show.
He was. His
And
father
then he
handed
probably
over to him.
Left it with him. The bottom line is this. The world will be a better place if these dictators, whether they are United States friends or they are enemies, leave and let countries take hold of their future and work hard. Make it better for their children and their children's children.
I'm really tempted to debate you a bit on this subject, but for the lack of time. But let me still ask you: how do you describe a dictator? How do you define a dictator? Because Assad is not the only person who's not been elected.
Right. That's why I actually said, including even our friends. And we have some friends who are dictators.
Yep.
I don't like them either.
Okay. All right. Good. Let me go to Kofi now. Kofi, Russia gave out an early warning that if America strikes Syria, they are going to strike Saudi Arabia, who is an ally of the United States. Don't you think this thing is going to blow out if the United States actually goes ahead? if the United States strikes Syria, Russia strikes Saudi Arabia, someone strikes Israel, someone strikes that, and don't you think it really has the potential of being a third world war, Kofi?
Am I still on there?
No, I was asking Kofi.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
Kofi, you there? Hello, Kofi?
I'm here, Quasi. So you were asking if this, when you bring the big players like Russia and China into question, you're asking if this has the potential of escalating to a world war type scenario?
Yeah, exactly.
I really think it could easily become such a scenario, and it will be a strange one because looking back, nobody thought Syria will become such a world player, but from what I'm seeing, Russia is heavily vested, for the first time, and clearly not on American side. China would always. It is not unexpected for China to be, more on a Russian type agenda because they make it clear that they're not on any straight up, American agenda as far as ideology and running into war. I don't remember any war that China actually co-signed America as far as starting or getting into. So it can easily take such a turn, and it will be very unfortunate and unexpected because you would think like an oil heavy country will be able to bring together forces where we have the semblance of a world war. But I think this Syria one could slowly drag and get there. It surprises me because. I didn't think, Syria was such a world player, but for some reason, it looks like Assad is untouchable too. So I don't know.
Wow. Which leads us again into the next angle of what we really are looking at. Kwesi, do the people care at all walking on the streets? Do you think the ordinary citizen, the average Joe walking on the street, do they care at all about whether or not America strikes Syria? I'm talking about people in the United States. Do they care?
Who walk on the street? The average what? The average Ghanaian, average American?
No. The average American. Let's start with the average American.
Kwesi, that I don't know. I've not spoken to, but from the polls I'm seeing, I believe majority of Americans are against. Getting ourselves involved in this. That's what I'm seeing on TV, but I've not spoken to that many Americans to form such an opinion or to come to such a conclusion. I just don't know. I can't answer. I don't have an answer to that.
Okay, fair enough. Because I was going to ask as a follow-up if you think citizens around the world, like we have a world community right now, thanks to social media and the internet, so we have people talking, so I'm interested to know, apart from, let's say, even the average, maybe Smart can help us answer that. Do you think the average American cares about what's going on in Syria and whether or not America decides to strike Syria?
Yes, I do. They care immensely, and they do care because of a few things. Because of Iraq, you have to remember that prior to Iraq, the other war that America had engaged in that had caused a lot of casualties was Vietnam, and that's almost 30 years ago or 40 years ago. So many Americans do not really remember Vietnam, but Iraq came 10 years ago or 9 years ago, and the memory of Iraq is very vivid. It's etched in the mind of all Americans, and Americans have become wary of war. And just a point of correction, one of the panelists, I don't know whether Smart or Kofi, actually said that China has never gotten involved in a war in which America began or America has been involved in, and that is not actually correct. China got involved in Korea. In fact, it was China that pushed America back to where the line is, where North Korea ends and where South Korea begins. So China actually fought America before. And we have to bear that in mind.
Was it a direct confrontation with America, or was it that they were backing the Koreans?
direct conflict. Red Army. Chairman Mao actually sent his forces down and pushed General MacArthur's troops down to almost Seoul. That's Seoul. That's the capital of South Korea. He pushed them way back down to almost Seoul, and this is a historical fact. So Chinese troops have actually engaged American troops before in battle, and this happened in the 50s. So that's a long time ago. But we have to understand that it can happen again, and we just have to be conversant with these issues. That's all.
Great. That's some really good education on the program. All right, let me come to you now, Kofi. Let's turn our attention to Africa, and I would really love for all three of you to address this, because that is at the crux of why we are even holding this program in the first place.
Let's turn our attention to Africa.
What will it mean to Africa and Africans if America decides to strike? What implications will that have for Africa and Africans?
What will it mean to Africa?
Smart. Oh, sorry, Kofi.
What that have for Africa and Africans?
The feedback is terrible.
Yes. Yeah. Hello?
Yes. Are you there, Kofi?
No, this is Smart.
Okay. You can still take that, because I would actually want all three of you to answer that question.
I'm still here too, in case I think you lost me.
Listeners, do pardon me for...
I just wanted to make sure I was here.
Oh, okay. All right. You know what? I know there's a lot of scenarios and people thinking about other countries getting involved. Trust me. No other country is going to join. You will probably get the French and maybe some Saudi Arabia and a few others joining up with the United States to do whatever they intend to do in terms of depleting Assad's military capability.
What makes you so sure? What makes you so sure, Smart? Because when George Bush was striking Iraq, he said, you are either with us or you are against us, right? So with these countries, with some of the countries in Africa who are so bent on pleasing the master, what makes you think that they will not decide to send troops or whatever kind of support they would give?
Yeah. Well, you know what? Obviously, I'm not so sure of everything, and I guess all of us are coming up with a lot of scenarios. But I could just give just a couple of examples. Recent being Libya. Look at what they all talked about. Gaddafi had this, and as long as the United States I remember his spokesperson in making all those press conferences on TV, even his children bragging about this and that. Some of Gaddafi's friends making a whole bunch of noise, and Russia is going to come in there, and China is heavily invested there, and all that kind of stuff. Look, if you're a bad guy and you get into trouble, trust me, your friends will run away. The same thing happened to Saddam. In the end, he was found in a hole. So this idea that a lot of other nations are going to jump in and then it's going to be a third world war. Look, this guy, he doesn't have a good record. And if he dare, I hope that this is the end. I just hope so, that it's not going to start anymore. But
I don't... Can I say something?
Yes, I think Kwesi wants to...
But with Syria, Russia has a naval base in Syria. I hope you're aware of that. Russia did not have bases in Libya, they didn't have bases in Iraq. But Russia has a base in Syria.
Very solid point.
And that has put in consideration. I mean,
that base is not going to be targeted. Russia has embassies in Syria. And America
gentlemen, let's try to give each other the chance to finish saying what they're saying.
I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to put. Sorry, I was just trying to make a point. I understand what you're saying, but I was just trying to ask: what if the conflict escalates to a point where a rogue rocket goes off and hits a Russian vessel, killing Russian naval officers? What if that happens?
That's a very good point. And as a matter of fact, Smart, 1 second. That's a very valid point that Kwesi just made, because the fact of the matter is, I don't even think they're going to sit down for that to happen first. They definitely are going to try to protect their investment. And then they've also given a clear indication that if America attacks Syria, they are also going to stand up.
Look, there's a Russian embassy in Libya. There was a Russian embassy in Libya, and that could have also happened when they started dropping bombs on Gaddafi. So
Smart. An embassy is different from a military installation.
People don't live there. They don't have property there.
They do. But you agree that they don't serve the same purpose, right? And then excuse me, Smart. If you have a military base in a place, the last thing you want is anybody, conducting any form of military activity around where you have your military installation. I'm sure you agree with me on that.
I can tell you they will not. They will not. Just as they didn't attack other facilities that Russia had.
But Smart, they've already given an indication that if America strikes Syria, they are going to strike Saudi Arabia. They've already given that indication. So it's not even about coming close to their installation. It's a simple A leads to B scenario right now.
Look, in Iraq, Saddam Hussein did a lot of that. I think he even threw some scouts to Israel, hoping and thinking that the Israelis will get involved and this whole thing will become some big issue.
True.
Look, just as Americans are very cautious, in fact, a couple of days I was at a fundraiser, and I think I was the only person, to answer your question about how do Americans feel. Almost everybody was like, hey, we have a lot of things to do. And in fact, some of us who've been working on advocacy on healthcare, gun violence, and immigration, stuff like that, I feel the pain because it becomes more difficult for us to do our job.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So we are all wary, just as those citizens in those countries are also. But again, this guy, it's a crazy guy.
Okay, let's not veer from the point, because at this point, what we are looking at is Africa. And actually, the question is, what will the implication be for Africa and Africans?
Right. In fact, that was what I was drawing to. I was just trying to say that Africans will be Africans. We'll live our normal life. Nothing will happen over there. Nothing. I don't think this is going to be a World War III or it's going to get any other countries involved in it. It's going to be limited, and Assad will be punished. It's as simple as that.
All right.
It's more Obama doctrine, just as he did in Libya, and that's it.
Okay.
This is more complicated, though, because someone actually, I forgot who made mention of the different tribes in Syria. It makes it more complicated, without a doubt.
It does.
But trust me, this is not going to be a third world war.
Okay.
I strongly believe so.
All right. Let's hear your thoughts, Kofi. What will the implications be for Africa and Africans? Kofi? Hello, Kofi, you there? Hello, Kofi? Oh, okay. I don't know if Kofi is there. I think Kofi is there, but he can't hear me. We'll come back to you anyhow if you can hear me. So let me put that question to Kwesi. What would the implications be for Africa and Africans? I mean, I was engaged in a Facebook debate where people raised very interesting arguments about money that should be going to as aid to Africa, for instance, could be diverted to the war effort. There are issues like Africans would be sent to the war, even though Smart doesn't think so. They're actually people of African descent who are also part of the umbrella group that we're talking about, who might be sent to the war front, and who knows what's going to happen. Help us understand the issue, Kwesi. How would this affect Africa and Africans?
Hello?
Yes, Kwesi, did you hear the question?
Yeah, I think I got a question. You're saying how would this war affect Africa?
And Africans.
And Africans?
Yep.
I hardly see a link between this war and what's in Africa and how it's going to affect Africa. But I do see one message that it sends across. It sends a message that is quite unfortunate, which is you can kill as many people as you want in Africa, so long as you aren't in a geopolitically important region. So, for instance, in Congo, we have over 1.2 million civilians killed over the past, God knows how many years, and nobody has raised an issue about that. But 400, 500 Syrians die, and then from poisonous gases or children or whatever I call them, and then we hear people say we need to teach them a lesson, and it's sickening. I mean, it's sickening when you hear people make the excuse that we cannot go everywhere. Of course, we know we cannot go everywhere, but it seems to me that you're willing to go to places where there is oil to save human lives than places where there isn't oil. So it comes across as very, very disingenuous, sometimes even hypocritical, to the point that as Africans, we just have to look at these paragons of virtue, freedom, and democracy that they always preach, and ask ourselves whether they actually believe in these virtues. So that's what I take from it as an African, that we ought to get our acts right. We shouldn't expect the likes of Obama to get it right for us, but they don't care.
That is a really, really, really interesting angle that you just drew our attention to. It's a really interesting angle, seriously, that you just drew our attention to. Is Kofi on the line now? Can we get your view, Kofi?
I'm here.
Yes, I'm just trying to get your opinion on how you reckon this, if America decides to strike Syria, how is it going to affect Africa and Africans or people of African descent?
To tell you the truth, I think. See, this is how I look at it, and this is just a warped, crazy philosophy of mine. Because my mother, when we were kids, my mother would say, if you're in first place and God says, God commands an about face, in Ghana we'll say an about turn. If you're in first place and the commander says about turn, you become the person in the last place.
That's right.
So, yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I think all this chaos going around, around us, as Africans, when it's all said and done, we're only going to shine brighter. That's how I look at it. That's just me. I think these guys are going to straight up self-destroy, get into a self-destructive mode. I'm talking about the advanced world, Europe, and somebody might say this guy's crazy, but they're going to self-destruct, and before they realize, Africa will be back in the #1 position. So how is it going to affect Africans? Maybe day to day, because there are Africans in the Middle East, there are Africans in America who may be affected. Yep. But between me and you, this is all part of a grand design that is going to make us become #1 once again. If that was, this is my answer. Another
very interesting angle. But let me throw this in. Let's say America has allies in Africa, and America is putting pressure on Africa. You all remember when America decided or proposed to build drone bases in West Africa and all of that. You don't think there's going to be some pressure on our governments to use our space, Africa, as military bases for launching the attacks, left, right, center? Because who knows who else is going to come into the fray? Smart. You don't think that's a possibility?
Are you talking about installation of military bases in Ghana and other West African
Is that not
countries?
a possibility? Yes.
Well, I think, you know what, these governments, for example, if you take Ghana and Nigeria, they are both democratic governments, and if anything of that sort is to happen, I guess the parliament will have to make a decision on that. I personally don't think it's necessary that we will embark on stuff like that. And so, you know what? I don't think that would happen. But it wouldn't surprise me that certain states in Africa might choose to take that option.
Okay.
For several reasons.
All right. We only have our last 3 minutes. As a matter of fact, my producer gave me a bit of extra time, but at this point, he has signaled that we have just 3 minutes, which is perfect because it means everybody gets 1 minute. Let's start with you, Kwesi. Final thoughts.
Sorry?
Final thoughts. Your final thoughts. Your final thoughts on today's issue. What?
Oh, my final thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. My final thoughts. What I would say is Syria is just symptomatic of what is happening globally. It's become a unipolar world. It's become a world where might is right. It's become a world where sectarian differences tend to be brushed over, glossed over, just for geopolitical expediency. We need to be careful because we can't keep on kicking the can down the street. These things will definitely come back to bite. And if this Syrian conflict is not resolved, and I believe resolved, it has to be resolved diplomatically. If we exacerbate the problem by bombing or by aiding one side against the other, it's going to come back to bite us in a few years' time.
Well said. Kofi, final thoughts.
Oh, my final thoughts are, I'm going to say, hey, Syria, we pray that Assad. You know, and the funny thing with me and Assad is, he looks, and looks can be deceptive, but this guy looks like the consummate, gentleman, so if he could snap out of it, he's going to save all of us a lot of, bother, because, you have countries trying to get educated and poor people jobs and health care, and, it's not the right time to be spending money on bombs and weapons. So I pray that he really snaps out of it, and some countries have still not learned the toll, economically and psychologically that war will exert on a nation. I mean, I saw pictures in Syria, and it's like a ghost town, concrete and money that have been spent, architects have designed homes over centuries, and it all come down to rubble, just because of war. So I just pray that, a greater humanity will prevail, and that's my final thought,
Great, fantastic. And Smart, final thoughts.
Sure, my final thoughts. One of our friends actually on the panel made mention of how the world looked at the other side while Congo went through a lot. I was furious and mad at that. Quite frankly, when Ivory Coast was getting into that same situation, I hoped and prayed that someone will intervene, and the French, and of course, with some work on with Barack, America, of course, got the French, got the people in Ivory Coast free.
Sorry to barge in, Smart, but my issue is, why does it have to be another country to intervene in the issues of another country when we have a United Nations which has a Security Council? Why is that?
Maybe the question should actually be directed to you. Why was the UN watching when Congo, all this genocide was going on in Congo? It is just an ineffective group of people over there because of the structure. Because of the structure. But let me close this way.
Yep.
Russia and the United States recently came up with some kind of weapons of mass destruction ratification or something. So both of them really want us to get rid of these bad things. If Russia is serious and they can use their influence in Syria, let us get rid of those chemical weapons. Let's take care of it and see if we can move forward with some kind of political solution. And then everybody will be fine. I hope and pray we get to that point.
Fantastic, as always. And I really think that Russia has been key in where we are at this point. Because last night I went to bed thinking that America was actually going to strike. And then I wake up this morning, and then, like I said before, President Obama has graciously given us all a window of hope, to hope that diplomacy will win the day and that there will actually be no need whatsoever for war, because we do not like war. War is nobody's friend. War kills the rich and it kills the poor. It kills the old and it kills the young. It kills everybody. War is not a good thing. On that note, I would say thank you so much, Kwesi, Hefon Benjamin, Smart, Osafo, and Kofi Dishon for making the program today. And I really appreciate your deep, deep, deep insight. I hope we'll get you again on this platform soon to discuss more issues, as and when we need you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And thanks, folks, Kwesi and Kofi and Rosa. Nice
All right.
to meet you guys again.
All right.
My pleasure.
And then let me also close by saying that humanity thanks President Obama for giving peace a chance. We hope that you don't let this slip. We keep on the road to peace, whether or not it affects Africans, because anything that affects the world affects Africa. Africa is part of the world. Let's all meet on this platform again next week and reason some more. Till then, this has been yours truly, Ja Beloved, on ConsciousVybz. I'm ending with the sounds of Judah Browning, who says, "Blessed love. Love is the answer to everything. One love."
Blessed love, higher blessed love. We all feel it every day. Hey, blessed love, higher blessed love. Why humanity have fuss and hate? Through my outs and through my ins, I give thanks from within for the lives we all are living. Even when it's sticky, still we need our medicine. Hey, so we got to roots before we shall know we must sit others wisely. Because it's good over evil, no matter how little. Shall love will win triumphantly. So, blessed love, higher blessed love. We all feel it every day. Hey, blessed love, higher blessed love. Why humanity across and rage, yeah. Blessed love, His higher